You've probably seen the headline, "Night Owls Die Younger." It went everywhere. A study of more than 400,000 people, and the evening types, the ones who come alive after dark, had a higher risk of dying. If your best hours are the ones after everyone else has gone to bed, that headline probably didn't land like science. It landed like a diagnosis. Here's the part almost nobody shared. A second study went back to check that finding. Bigger stretch of time, tighter controls. And when they looked closely at why night owls were dying sooner, the death sentence mostly fell apart. So tonight, let's talk about what being a night owl actually is. Because the story you've been told, that you're lazy, undisciplined, quietly sabotaging your own health, is not what the evidence says. You're not broken. You might just be running on a different clock, in a world that was built for someone else's. Let's start with the thing itself. Your chronotype is your body's natural preference for when to sleep and when to be awake. Larks at one end, owls at the other, and most people somewhere in the middle. And here's the first thing worth knowing. It's partly written into your genes. Not a personality quirk. Not a bad habit you never grew out of. In 2019, researchers ran one of the largest studies of its kind, nearly 700,000 people, and found more than 350 separate genetic regions linked to being a morning person. So yes, some of this is you. Some of this you were born into. But, and this is where I want to be honest with you because most videos won't be, the effect is smaller than the internet makes it sound. There's no single night owl gene. It's hundreds of genes, each nudging you a little. And when you compare the most morning-leaning genetics to the most evening-leaning, the difference in when they actually fall asleep is only about 25 minutes. 25 minutes. Your genes tilt the table. They don't roll the dice for you. So if you've ever been told your late nights are just biology and nothing can change, that's only half true. Hold on to that because it matters later. So if it's not laziness, and it's not fully genetic destiny either, why do night owls feel so wrecked? The answer is a concept I think everyone should know, and almost nobody does. It's called social jet lag. Think about real jet lag. You fly across time zones, your body clock says one thing, the local clock says another, and you feel awful until they line back up. Now imagine that, without ever getting on a plane. That's social jet lag. It's the gap between the time your body wants to live on and the time your alarm forces on you. Researchers who coined the term found that late types carry the biggest version of this. All week, they're dragged awake before their body is ready, building up a sleep debt. Then on the weekend, they crash and sleep in to pay it back. Every single week. A permanent jet lag for a flight you never took. And here's the reframe that I think really lands. When a night owl is exhausted, foggy, reaching for a third coffee, that's very often not the chronotype hurting them. It's the mismatch. It's living on the wrong clock, 5 days out of 7. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If so many people run late by nature, why is the whole world scheduled early? And this isn't just grumbling. Look at teenagers. At puberty, the adolescent body clock physically shifts later, by up to 2 hours, because the brain starts releasing its sleep hormone, melatonin, later at night. A teenager who genuinely cannot fall asleep at 10 p.m. isn't being difficult. Their biology has moved the goalposts. And then we ring the school bell at 8 in the morning. In one analysis, more than 4 in 10 American high schools started before 8 a.m. We built a system that asks the latest sleeping humans on Earth to sit their hardest exams at the exact moment their brains are still asleep. This is so well established that the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, an actual body of sleep doctors, formally called for schools to start at 8:30 or later. So when late risers feel like the day is designed against them, they're not imagining it. To a real degree, it is. Now, let's go back to where we started. Night owls die younger. That headline came from a real study. Over 400,000 people, followed for about 6.5 years, and yes, the definite evening types had roughly a 10% higher risk of dying. That's not nothing, and I'm not going to pretend it is. But science doesn't stop at one study. A few years later, another team followed nearly 24,000 people for 37 years, far longer. And at first, they saw the same thing. Evening types, slightly higher risk. Then they did the thing that matters. They asked why. They accounted for smoking, for alcohol, for the lifestyle that tends to travel with a late-night life. And when they did, the risk almost completely dissolved. Among the night owls who didn't smoke and drank only lightly, there was no extra risk of dying at all. The researchers' own conclusion was blunt. There's little or no independent link between your chronotype and how long you live. Sit with that. It wasn't the clock killing night owls. It was what a misaligned, exhausting, out-of-sync life pushes people toward. The extra drink, the cigarette, the coping. Change the story from your body is defective to your schedule is fighting you, and that fight has a cost. Same data, completely different meaning. And here's the part that should genuinely lift some weight off you. Your chronotype is not a life sentence. It moves. We're early birds as children. We drift later and later through our teens, and we hit peak night owl right around age 20. After that, we slowly shift back toward mornings for the rest of our lives. In fact, that turning point is so reliable that scientists have proposed it as a biological marker for the end of adolescence. So the 22-year-old who cannot function before noon very often becomes a completely different sleeper at 40. If you're waiting to become a morning person, for a lot of people that just quietly happens. And in the meantime, you have more room to move than you think. Morning light, consistent timing. You can nudge the clock. You can't turn a deep owl into a lark by willpower, but you were never supposed to. The goal was never to fix you. It was to stop treating a scheduling problem like a character flaw. Okay, I want to hand it over to you because this is where it gets interesting, and honestly, where I have opinions. We hand out words like disciplined to early risers and lazy to late ones. But if the science says a teenager physically cannot learn well at 8 a.m., why do we still start school then? Whose convenience is that really for? And think about the language. We call 5 a.m. wake-ups winning the morning. We call the same amount of sleep, shifted a few hours later, sleeping your life away. Is that a health fact? Or is it a moral judgment wearing a lab coat? Here's the one I really want your answer to. If someone offered you a job, same pay, same work, but you started at 11 and finished at 8, would you take it? Or would some part of you still feel like you were getting away with something? Because if it would, that's worth asking where that feeling actually came from. Tell me in the comments, are you an owl living in a lark's world? And has this changed how you see it? If this reframed something for you, subscribe. This is the anchor of a whole series I'm building on the psychology of sleep, and there are short companion videos going up alongside it that go deeper on the pieces we touched tonight. You're not lazy. You might just be early to a party the world scheduled too late. I'll see you in the next one.